Happy America Day, everybody! Let's celebrate with Secret Invasion. Yeah, it feels appropriate. Hello, interwebs, and welcome to my review of the latest episode of Marvel's Secret Invasion, this time episode 3, Betrayed. And before we get into it, yes, I am still in the process of unpacking all of my stuff in my new apartment, so this is the set you're getting right now. Apologies. I do have Patrick Stewart Picard riding a Lugia, so I managed to put that together for you. I'm giving you all what you want. Anywho, let's talk about what you're all here to discuss, the latest episode of Secret Invasion. So I've made no bones about the fact that I've not been super enthused about the last couple episodes of the show so far, and sadly this third episode doesn't really improve my estimation, and just sort of like continues hitting the same things that I have issues with, while also highlighting the things that I still like about the show, namely Nick Fury and Talos' relationship. Love everything to do with that. It's just everything around them, and I'm starting to see within this episode a little bit more of the overall themes of the show, especially now that we're halfway through the series, apparently, starting to crystallize for me, and I am starting to at least glean what the show is going for in terms of its use of the Skrulls and the discussion that it's having, but I still feel like it's fairly unnuanced in a way that I think ends up reading more problematic. But let's start off where the episode starts off, and that is with Nick Fury's wife, Vera. We get a little bit of a flashback at the top here to showcase that they've had a relationship since 1998, that they've been working together, and I think it's supposed to make us feel like, oh yeah, this is a long-going thing, they have deep feelings for each other, but it doesn't really work because she's just a character that we met literally at the end of last episode, and I guess technically at the start of the episode when she was in Skrull form, and sort of this like buttressing her into Nick Fury's life. Just I have no real emotional investment in her, no matter how much they are trying to make me feel that way with just the little bits and pieces that they're giving me. Like I don't get a real sense that they have a relationship together, even when they have these small little home scenes. And it reads even harder to emotionally invest in when it's asking us to like invest in their relationship without showing it to us, and then immediately like going on to this rant where she says, well, you left me twice and you abandoned me. And I'm sort of like, how much did this relationship mean to Nick Fury if he just like up and left her as soon as he got back from the blip? And I get that we were supposed to get the sense that Nick Fury like had a feeling of loss of agency, which is what set him off on this sort of like, let me go into space and get off with everybody. And that somewhat works in the sense of him abandoning everyone else in terms of his professionalism and his professional life, but less so when it's supposed to be his wife that we're supposed to invest that he cares about. And so none of that really worked for me. Also, a small note with that scene is apparently Nick Fury watches like the Tucker Carlson equivalent, who's also a Skrull, but like in the universe he kind of has that like Alex Jonesy Tucker Carlson vibe, and it's like I don't know, it kind of gives the same vibe as my parents, who, I love my parents, but they watch Fox News sometimes, and they don't agree with Fox News, but like, we should watch Fox News because you get the other opinions, and I'm like, I don't know, Fox News is kind of shitty. I don't think we should be watching them. We should just be like, yeah, Fox News, absolute shit show. Like enlightened centrist vibes from this whole show, which is kind of an ethos going forward. Which brings us to Gravik, because we start to get a little bit more of Gravik's plan here, which is he's making Super Skrulls. That's what a lot of people theorized from the end of last episode, and that's the direction we're going. He wants to sort of make Super Skrulls so they can stand against the Avengers. And in the meantime, he wants to set all of humanity against each other, so that sets in this plot of like he's going to start a war by having people infiltrate the military, the UK military, I believe, and like start humans fighting each other while they can sort of take on the superheroes with Super Skrulls. I guess a decent enough plan, divide and conquer and all that. But what is more interesting to me is getting into his ideology and why he is this way. We get little hints of that when he has the scene with Talos later on, where he's like, I'm a soldier. I don't care about like these like leaders on the hill making their decisions. I'm a soldier on the battlefield. But we get hints of that. We saw that he was a child soldier working under Fury at one point earlier in last episode. But we never seen that. And so this like bloodlustiness of him is, I don't feel like it comes from anywhere real, and I don't invest in Gravik as a character. And this gets into like the nuance of the themes that I was discussing, because what it sets up when we have this conversation between Gravik and Talos, and what we sort of see later on with Talos and his relationship with Fury, is this discussion about, and I think this is what the show is trying to get to, of like, do you work as part of the system in hopes as a refugee that it'll work for you or not? And sort of the resentments that can build when the system ultimately doesn't work for you, because Nick Fury clearly is taking advantage of Talos and using his abilities to be able to further his own agenda and his own career, as Talos literally calls out. But then Gravik doesn't present like a nuanced counterbalance to that, because he just is this bloodlusty dude who wants to kill all humans, right? And it reminds me very much so of the Flag Smashers in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because the problem with the Flag Smashers is they had like a legitimate point, but the show just had them like blow up people and murder innocent civilians just to like make them the very clear antagonist for our superhero story. And Gravik is kind of presenting that same thing, where it's like, you could have a discussion about like whether or not the system is ever going to work for you. And like Talos could be one of the good ones all day long. He could work for Nick Fury all day long, but Nick Fury is not going to ultimately value him and do what Talos needs him to do, because he's useful to Nick Fury. And I think that's a very interesting dynamic to call out. But Gravik just presents this like, and the other option is we murder all the humans. And I feel like the end of this show is going to be Nick Fury being like, you know what? I was treating Talos bad. I am going to do better for him. It's like, dude, you used him for years, and then just like now when possibly people are going to murder everybody, you're going to like toss him a crumb of like, yeah, no, I'll go and find you a home planet. And it's just like, it's this, again, this sort of like, yeah, well, we can work within the system sort of things, and presenting like people recognizing that the system fails them as just these villainous others. And that is par for the course for Marvel, but just framing it in this really refugee discussion is problematic, at the very least, for all the other reasons that I've discussed in the past 2 episodes. But here it's like, I can see what you're going for, and there is a kernel of a good idea there that I would like, but you're going to take it in a direction that I know I'm not going to like, and the discussion that you're presenting is incredibly unnuanced, and I really, really dislike it. So yeah, that's just deeply frustrating, and that's compounded by Emilia Clarke's character Gaia. She really has nothing to do, and it's made even clearer at the end of this episode, where she betrays Gravik, and then she immediately gets murdered, and it seems like she's going to be murdered to push Talos's story forward, or she's not actually dead. And in either case, it's really dumb, because either she's getting fridged for Talos, so Talos can have like I'm angry at Gravik, so I need to go after him because he killed my daughter storyline, which is another fridging of a woman, the third that we've had in this show. Or Gravik failed to double check that he actually killed her and she'll actually be alive, and he could have just shot her twice, which is a trope that I always hate when a villain like shoots somebody and they're like, well, I killed them, and they don't bother to check that they're actually dead so they can survive later on, and it's all a big surprise. So either way, it's a terrible storyline. I guess I would rather her be alive than her having been killed, because that would just be another fridging of a woman. But either option is kind of just a terrible story direction for her character. Rather, she just have gotten away and Gravik found out later on. But yeah, it's deeply frustrating. I will end on a positive though. I do like Nick Fury and Talos' stuff. Their relationship is the one thread that I'm holding on to through the show, because I love everything with them. Their back and forth is fantastic. I love like Talos calling him out, but I like that there's still a friendship and kinship there between them. And God, I can tell that there's, if the show was better, I could tell that there would be a whole shipping fandom made. Maybe there already exists one, but it feels like these two are made for people to ship these two together, because I get more tension, romantic or platonic, between these two guys than I do between Nick Fury and his own wife. Yeah, I actually kind of do like, I am someone who does tend to ship. I actually like seeing these two as like really platonic characters, but I certainly understand if people see them, read those undercurrents in their relationship. But either way, I do really like their bromance that they have going on here. And it's just unfortunate that it's going to be probably bolted onto a political message that I find deeply problematic, but I do like their back and forth and their respect for each other, even while they are sort of like having this like tension between them in their relationship. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Oh, and I guess Nick Fury's wife has a connection to Gravik. Shocker of shocks. Who cares? She's a new character. I'm not like reeling at that revelation, I guess. So yeah, this just continues my further disappointment with Secret Invasion. I mean, the show had so much potential, and unfortunately, it's just wallowing in really unnuanced political messaging and problematic political messaging, and then sort of rote, tropey storylines with good performances, I guess. Yeah. Secret Invasion, Episode 3. I'd love to hear all of your thoughts down in the comments below. Let me know what you thought, or let me know what you thought of Picard riding Lugia. Look at that. Look at that. That's a crossover that I want. Give me this crossover. Star Trek and Pokemon? I'm here for that. What would that even be? Poketrek? Starmon. Anywho, I hope you're all doing well, and take care, and live long and prosper.